You have been told, since you were small, that honesty is a virtue. You have been told that the truth will set you free. You have been told that liars are weak and that only the dishonest need to hide themselves. You believed all of it. You built your whole personality on the belief. You became the honest one, the direct one, the one who could be counted on to say what everyone else was thinking. The one who did not play games. The one who called it like he saw it. And now look at where that honesty has brought you. Look at the friendships that cooled after you gave your unvarnished opinion. Look at the relationship that ended after you admitted the thing she was better off not knowing. Look at the promotion you did not get because you told your boss, in a moment of misplaced candor, exactly what you thought of the new initiative. Look at the family members who have stopped inviting you, not because you did anything wrong, but because being around you had come to feel like being under inspection. Look at the loneliness that has slowly assembled itself around you, brick by brick, laid by your own honest hands. You have been killing yourself with the truth, not all at once, slowly, carefully. One unnecessary disclosure at a time. One unflattering assessment shared when silence would have served you better. One brutal fact offered to someone who never asked for it, and who has not forgiven you for delivering it. You have been bleeding out through your mouth for decades, and you thought you were practicing a virtue. You were practicing a habit that has cost you more than you know, and the full cost will only become clear to you when you understand what Niccolò Machiavelli understood 5 centuries ago, which is that honesty, untempered by strategy, is not a virtue at all. It is a compulsion, and compulsions, regardless of how they are dressed up by the culture that praises them, are forms of enslavement. Machiavelli was not a liar. This must be said clearly because the popular caricature of him is a mustache-twirling schemer who saw deception as a kind of cleverness. He was nothing of the sort. He valued truth. He sought it ruthlessly. He wrote with a precision and honesty that made him dangerous to the regimes he served. But he understood something that the modern advocates of radical honesty have not understood, and that something is this. The truth is a substance that acts differently depending on where it is released. In a private room with a trusted ally, the truth can build. In a public setting with ambiguous loyalties, the same truth can destroy. The truth, as a substance, is neither good nor bad in itself. Its moral character is created by the context of its release. And the man who treats truth as morally constant, as something to be released with equal freedom in every context, is not practicing honesty. He is practicing a kind of indiscriminate disclosure that happens to coincide with the truth, but operates, strategically, identically to telling lies. Because both produce outcomes detached from the well-being of the speaker. Both spend the speaker's reserves. Both fail to produce the results the speaker is reaching for. The only difference is that the liar knows he is spending something, while the compulsively honest man believes he is collecting virtue. Consider what honesty actually is. It is the accurate transmission of internal content to an external listener. When you are honest, you take something that was inside you, an observation, a feeling, a judgment. You move it into the world where it can now be held by others, repeated by others, weaponized by others, remembered by others long after you have forgotten saying it. The transfer is irreversible. Once the truth is spoken, it cannot be unspoken. And the listener now has information about you that they did not have before. And that information is, from that moment forward, a permanent part of their model of who you are. They can use it, they can share it. They can, in a moment of conflict years from now, reach back into their archive and retrieve the honest statement you made on a Tuesday afternoon in 2023, and use it against you in a way that would have seemed impossible when you first spoke it. Most people do not think about honesty this way. They think about it as a momentary moral act, not as a long-term informational release. They imagine that once they have been honest, the transaction is complete. In fact, the transaction has only begun. The listener now carries information, and that information is in their possession, subject to their discretion to be deployed according to their interests rather than yours. You have given away a piece of intelligence about yourself, and you have received in return the fleeting satisfaction of having been truthful. This is a bad trade. This is always a bad trade. And the reason you keep making it is that you have been trained to believe the satisfaction is worth the cost, when in fact the cost compounds and the satisfaction evaporates. leaving you with a steadily growing file in other people's hands and a steadily diminishing reserve in your own. Machiavelli understood that information is power, and that the release of information is the release of power. The man who discloses freely is the man who empowers his listeners at his own expense. This is not hypothetical. This is the actual mechanism by which honest men lose ground in the world, not because honesty is punished by some cosmic force, because the information they have freely given out has been used in ways large and small by listeners whose interests did not align with theirs. You told your coworker in a moment of honest frustration that you were thinking about leaving the company. 2 weeks later, when a key project came up, you were not considered for it because your coworker had mentioned casually to your manager that you were on your way out. You told your sister in a moment of honest confession that you were struggling with money. A year later, when a family dispute arose, your financial instability was referenced, not as an attack, but as a fact, used to position you in the dispute as someone whose judgment was clouded by need. You told your friend in a moment of honest reflection that you sometimes worried you had married the wrong person. 3 years later, when the friend had a falling out with your spouse, that honest reflection was offered to your spouse in a gesture the friend framed as concern, and your marriage was permanently recalibrated by the knowledge that had leaked out. None of these people were villains. They were not plotting against you. They were, in most cases, not even acting consciously. They simply had information, and the information was in their heads. And when life created situations where the information was relevant, the information surfaced, because information does that. It does not stay stored, it circulates. And every honest statement you make is a new piece of information released into a circulation system that you do not control and cannot track. This is the first law you must internalize. Honesty is not free. It has never been free. The price you pay for it is the permanent presence of your disclosures, other people's minds, and the unpredictable future deployment of those disclosures in contexts you cannot anticipate. If you have been honest for 30 years, you have been paying this price continuously for 30 years, and the accumulated debt is what has produced the specific shape of your current life. The people who treat you with slight distance, the opportunities that mysteriously do not arrive, the conversations that happen in rooms you are not invited to. These are the compound interest of your disclosures, and you have been accruing it without noticing because the individual transactions felt in the moment like moral acts rather than informational releases. Machiavelli observed that the men who rose farthest in political life were not the most deceptive. They were the most strategically discreet. They did not lie, they withheld. They knew what to say, what not to say, and when to say each. They understood that a spoken truth in the wrong context produces the same outcome as a spoken lie, which is the erosion of the speaker's position. They understood that silence, when properly deployed, is not dishonest. Silence is simply the refusal to release information into a channel that cannot be trusted to carry it well. The silent man is not lying. He is managing the distribution of his own interior. You have been taught to see this as sneaky. You have been taught that authentic people share everything, that intimacy requires total disclosure, that holding anything back is a sign of emotional immaturity or pathological guardedness. These teachings come from a therapeutic culture that has generalized the principles of the therapist's office into the principles of general life. In the therapist's office, with a trained professional bound by confidentiality, total disclosure is often the correct move because the container is sealed. Nothing said in that room leaves it. The disclosures serve a therapeutic purpose, and the information cannot be used against you because the person receiving it has no other context in which to use it. The therapeutic container is specifically engineered to make total disclosure safe. But the world outside the therapist's office is not a therapeutic container. It is a field of uncontained information flows where everything you say can and will be repeated, contextualized, and eventually redeployed in situations that have nothing to do with the original disclosure. To treat general life as if it were the therapist's office is to fundamentally misunderstand the physics of information in the actual world you live in. And this misunderstanding has been sold to you as enlightenment. The Machiavellian correction is not a retreat into lying. It is a reallocation of honesty to the contexts where honesty actually serves you. You are not becoming a deceptive person, you are becoming a selectively honest person. You are developing the discrimination to distinguish between contexts where your honesty will build and contexts where your honesty will destroy. This is not a small distinction. This is the entire distinction between a man who thrives and a man who wonders, through his whole life, why his virtue has not produced the rewards he was promised. Begin with the simple recognition that not every question deserves an answer. You have been trained to answer all questions because silence feels rude and evasion feels dishonest. But the question itself is a tool, and the person who asks it is choosing what to ask for a reason. Sometimes the reason is genuine curiosity. Often it is not. Often the question is a probe, designed to extract information that the questioner can use in ways that do not serve you. Your default response, for decades, has been to answer fully. Your new default, beginning now, is to answer selectively. You can answer briefly. You can answer generally. You can answer with another question. You can deflect with humor. You can change the subject. You can simply not answer at all and let the question hang in the air until it evaporates. None of these responses are lies. All of them are refusals to release information into a channel that has not earned it. Someone asks you how your marriage is going. The old you would have given an honest assessment. We are working through some things. It is harder than I expected this year. I am having doubts. The new you recognizes that this question is almost never being asked for your benefit. It is being asked because the asker is curious or bored or collecting information about you that will be useful to them later. Your honest answer feeds the curiosity, provides information, and alters their model of you in ways you will not see the consequences of until years later. When the alteration has compounded into a treatment of you that you cannot trace back to the conversation that produced it, the correct response is pleasant and uninformative. Things are good, how about you? The redirection is not a lie. The assessment of the marriage is private. The question is answered in the only way that protects the privacy of what should not have been asked about in the first place. The asker walks away without the information they were seeking, and they do so without realizing that they were seeking anything because your deflection was so smooth it did not register as a deflection. This feels at first like a betrayal of something, a betrayal of authenticity, of connection, of the virtue of openness you have carried since adolescence. It is not. It is the beginning of a more sophisticated relationship with your own inner life. You are recognizing that your inner life is a resource, that resources have value, and that resources should not be distributed indiscriminately to anyone who asks for them. You are beginning to understand that the man who gives away his interior for free is the man whose interior ends up in other people's possession while his own hands are empty. You are beginning to reclaim your interior. You are beginning to make your disclosures purposeful rather than reflexive. This is not the death of your authenticity. This is the maturation of it. Consider also the honest opinion. You have been told that honest opinions offered freely are the mark of a direct and courageous person. In fact, unsolicited honest opinions are almost always a form of aggression disguised as candor. You offer your honest opinion of your friend's new haircut. You think you are being helpful. You are actually installing a tiny wound that will not fully heal. She did not ask for your assessment. She was showing you a thing she had done to her body, and the social contract between you required a generous response. You broke the contract in the name of honesty. She will remember. Not consciously perhaps, but her subconscious will file the moment, and next time she has something to share with you, she will share it slightly less freely. Next time she has a favor to grant, she will grant it slightly less generously. The relationship has been debited by your honest contribution, and the debit will compound across years of similar contributions, until one day she realizes she does not actually enjoy your company anymore, and neither of you will be able to point to the specific moment when that became true. You offer your honest opinion of your brother-in-law's business idea. You think you are saving him from a mistake. You are actually shaming him in the presence of his wife, who is your sibling, and now he will associate you permanently with the humiliation of having his idea dismantled at the dinner table. He will never forget it. He will bring it up obliquely years from now when some family decision is being made, and his position on that decision will be shaped invisibly by the grudge you did not know you had created. The idea may have been bad. The honest assessment may have been correct. The delivery of the assessment produced damage that vastly exceeded any benefit the correctness could have generated. You were right, and the rightness cost you a relationship that will never be quite the same again. Machiavelli would have told you that the correct move in both cases was silence, or a vague positive response, or a redirection. Not because the truth did not matter, because the truth, deployed in that context, could not produce a good outcome regardless of its accuracy. The correct response to a bad haircut is a compliment on something else. The jacket looks great on you. The correct response to a bad business idea is curiosity about the person's excitement, followed by gentle questions that might, if the person is open, lead them to reconsider without having been told. Tell me more about what draws you to this. What are the first steps you're imagining? These are not lies. They are refusals to weaponize accurate assessments in contexts where the weapon would produce more destruction than value. There is a category of truth that must also be examined, and it is the hardest one. The truth about other people. You form, inevitably, accurate assessments of the people in your life. You see who is reliable and who is not. You see who is brilliant and who is mediocre. You see who is trustworthy and who is performing trustworthiness. These assessments are valuable. They guide your decisions. They should not be shared, almost never. Because the moment you share an assessment of a third party with a second party, you have placed a piece of information in the second party's hands that they can use, and that they will use in ways that reveal you as the source. Your assessment, however accurate, becomes a piece of political intelligence that circulates in the social network, and you will be identified eventually as the one who generated it. The third party will find out. They will not forget. You have acquired an enemy you did not need, purchased at the price of a moment of honest observation that produced nothing of value for you. The Machiavellian approach is to form these assessments silently, to refine them privately, to use them to inform your own decisions about how to engage each person, and to never, under almost any circumstances, share them. The exception is the rare trusted ally who has demonstrated over years that your disclosures do not leak. For this person, and this person only, you can share your assessments, because the container has been earned. For everyone else, the assessments stay inside. They are the operating system of your social navigation. They are not content to be shared. They are tools to be used by you, quietly, in the background of your interactions, to produce outcomes that serve you. The person you privately assess as unreliable receives less of your energy and fewer of your secrets. This is the assessment in action. You do not announce the assessment. You simply adjust your behavior in response to it. The person never knows. They feel the change in the relationship, but they cannot identify what produced it. And the relationship drifts to a level of engagement that matches your accurate assessment, without any confrontation ever having occurred. You have used the truth strategically. You have not spent it publicly. This is how intelligent men manage the people in their lives, and it is invisible to everyone involved because its effectiveness depends on its invisibility. There is one more dimension worth examining, which is the honesty you bring to yourself. You have been told that self-honesty is the one form of honesty that is always good. This is closer to true than the others, but even here, the Machiavellian would offer a refinement. Self-honesty is good when it produces action. Self-honesty is bad when it produces paralysis. The man who examines himself ruthlessly and discovers his weaknesses and then sets about building his life to either overcome the weaknesses or work around them has used self-honesty well. The man who examines himself ruthlessly and discovers his weaknesses and then sits with those weaknesses in an endless loop of introspective suffering has used self-honesty as a form of self-harm. The test of internal honesty is not whether the findings are accurate. The test is whether the findings are actionable. If they are, engage them. If they are not, let them rest. You are not obligated to torment yourself with truths that cannot be converted into change. The mind that insists on facing every truth, regardless of whether the truth can be used, is a mind that has confused honesty with self-flagellation. Machiavelli would tell you that the prince who sees his own flaws clearly uses that sight to correct them when correction is possible and to conceal them when correction is not. He does not display his flaws to himself as a moral exercise. He treats them as intelligence, and intelligence is always in service of action. So the practice then is this. You will begin to distinguish, more carefully than you have before, between honesty that serves you and honesty that does not. You will notice the contexts you're in and the questions you are being asked. You will ask yourself quickly what the asker is likely to do with the information you provide. You will ask yourself whether the disclosure is purposeful or reflexive. You will ask yourself whether the honesty will build or destroy, whether it will produce outcomes you want or outcomes you do not. And you will let the answer to these questions guide what you actually say. Sometimes you will be fully honest, sometimes you will be selectively honest, sometimes you will be silent, sometimes you will deflect. None of these are betrayals of truth. All of them are correct uses of it. This will be uncomfortable at first because you have spent decades honoring a principle that you are now revising. You will feel, initially, that you are becoming less virtuous. You are not. You are becoming more strategic. The virtue you were honoring was a cartoon version of honesty that did not account for the actual physics of information in the world. The strategic honesty you are learning accounts for those physics. It produces better outcomes for you, and over time, better outcomes for the people around you, because you are no longer damaging them with disclosures they did not need and cannot use. You are learning to protect both yourself and them through the careful management of what is spoken and what is kept. This is an upgrade, not a downgrade. And once you see its results, you will not return to the old way, because the old way will look, in retrospect, like a long form of bleeding you had convinced yourself was a spiritual practice. There is a man, somewhere in your life, who has practiced this his whole life without ever naming it. He is the person everyone trusts, but no one fully knows. He is the person whose opinion is sought, but rarely volunteered. He is the person who can be told a secret, and the secret will stay with him until it dies. He is the person who sees everything and says little. Watch him. Learn from him. He is not a liar. He is not cold. He is not disconnected. He is simply in possession of himself in a way that most people are not, because he has never given himself away at the rate the rest of the world gives itself away. His interior is intact, and from the intactness of his interior comes the quiet power that you have, perhaps, envied without understanding what you were envying. You were envying the condition of being whole. And wholeness, in the informational sense, is achieved only by those who have stopped distributing themselves freely to anyone who asks. You can become this man, not overnight, not without effort. The habit of indiscriminate honesty is deeply grooved, and it will reassert itself the first few hundred times you try to override it. But each override weakens the habit a little. Each silence held where a disclosure used to escape is a small act of reclamation. Each redirection delivered smoothly is a small act of strategic maturity. Over months, the new habit forms. Over years, it becomes your default. And the life that results from the new default is different, in ways large and small, from the life the old default produced. People treat you differently. Opportunities arrive differently. Relationships evolve differently. You feel, at the end of each day, slightly less depleted than you used to feel, because you have stopped spending yourself into the void at every minor provocation. You have, without announcing it, conducted a small revolution in how you move through the world. The revolution was invisible to everyone but you. That is part of why it worked. Machiavelli offered this wisdom 5 centuries ago to princes navigating the politics of city-states. The politics of your life are smaller in scope, but identical in structure. The information you release is the information that can be used against you. The truths you share in the wrong contexts are the truths that eventually come back to damage you. The disclosures you make to anyone who asks are the disclosures that populate the archive that others maintain on you. And the cumulative effect of decades of open disclosure is a life in which you are vastly more known than you are powerful, vastly more visible than you are effective, vastly more available than you are respected. This is the cost of the honesty you were sold, and you can stop paying it, not tomorrow, not next year, today, in the next conversation you have, by noticing the pull to disclose and declining, and watching what happens when the disclosure does not occur. You will find that nothing terrible follows. The conversation continues, the relationship survives, the world keeps turning, and you end the interaction with something you did not have before. You end it with yourself still in your own possession. And that possession, accumulated across many such moments, is the foundation of a kind of strength that all the honesty in the world could never have built. If this reached the part of you that has been suspecting for years that your honesty has been costing you more than it has been giving you, Subscribe. Not to perform agreement. Not to broadcast conviction. Subscribe because you have decided that your interior is yours again, and that you are done handing it out to everyone who asks.